The Empty Bench. In a small, quiet town, lived a man named Arjun. He was in his mid-50s, worked as a librarian, and lived alone in a modest house at the edge of town. His children had moved to the city, and his wife had passed away years ago. Though kind and polite, Arjun spoke little and spent his evenings sitting on a worn wooden bench under an old banyan tree in the park alone. People noticed him but never really spoke to him. He prefers to be by himself, they'd say. What no one knew was that Arjun wasn't choosing loneliness. He was surviving it. Every evening on that bench, he'd recall the laughter of his wife, the warmth of his children when they were young, and the noise that once filled his home. Now, all he had was silence. One particularly rainy day, the bench was wet, and the park was nearly empty. Arjun hesitated, but still made his way to his usual spot, wiping it down with a handkerchief. As he sat, a young girl named Mira approached, soaked from the rain. She was no more than 10 and looked lost. "Are you okay?" Arjun asked gently. "My school bus left without me. I don't know what to do," she said, shivering. Arjun removed his jacket and gave it to her. "Don't worry, we'll call your parents from the library." They walked back to the library, where Arjun made her some warm tea and helped her contact her parents. As she left, she turned and said, "You're the nicest person I've met." The next day, Mira returned with her mother to thank Arjun, and the day after that, she came alone with storybooks to read. Slowly, other children from the neighborhood started visiting the library again. Arjun began organizing reading hours, storytelling sessions, and book swaps. His once empty evenings were now filled with laughter, questions, and stories. The old banyan bench, once a symbol of his solitude, was now a gathering place for children and parents. People started sitting with Arjun, talking, laughing, and sharing. One evening, Mira asked him, "Were you lonely before we came?" Arjun smiled and said, "I was, but sometimes all it takes is one kind moment to turn loneliness into connection." Moral of the story: loneliness isn't weakness, it's a space waiting to be filled with meaning. Even one act of kindness can transform isolation into purpose. When you feel alone, don't give up. Sometimes the world is just waiting for you to reach out or for someone to find you on that bench.